Hello, and in this part 2 video I'm going to focus on the topic of describe an important plant in your country. Now, when I first read this question, I had absolutely no idea what to talk about, and I can imagine in the exam that you would feel the same. I've chosen to talk about potato. Now, I appreciate that in a lot of your countries you don't grow potatoes, but think about a plant that is grown in your country, such as rice, such as tea, tomatoes. Really focus on a plant that you grow to eat, because I think this is the easiest way to approach this question, because you can talk about why it's important. If you're just talking about a tree or a flower, I think that is much more difficult. So don't think that you have to talk about the potato, but use the structures, use the language, use the ideas to talk about a plant that's grown for eating purposes in your country. So in your answer, you should say what it is, where you see it, what it looks like, and explain why it is important. This question really threw me, as at first I had absolutely no idea what to talk about, because I was thinking about houseplants. But then I realised that things that are grown are also plants, therefore I'm going to talk about potatoes. Potatoes are one of the staple foods in my country, so this is why the potato plant could be considered the most notable plant that we grow. I'm not entirely sure if there is one specific area where they are grown, because I'm not a potato expert, so I am just going to assume that they are grown everywhere. When I am driving around, I see the fields full of these crops, but to be perfectly honest, I don't take a lot of notice of them. What I'm more interested in is the end product of a potato that can be transformed into a multitude of tasty dishes. Basically, when the potato plant is growing, it is green. Green shoots appear out of the ground, and then they flower. The potato itself is actually under the ground, and it needs to be dug up and removed from the ground. In spring, the potatoes are tiny, and we call these new potatoes. They are usually sweet tasting and are delicious when served with butter. As the months pass, if the plant is not dug up, then the potatoes become bigger. Like I said before, potatoes are one of the main staples in the diet in my country. They can be made into so many different things: new potatoes, chips, mashed potatoes, jacket potatoes, and so on. Therefore, we rely on them for many of our meals. I cannot imagine a day passing when I do not eat one, so that's why they are our most important plant by far. So let's take a look at some of the language. This is quite a complex opening sentence. This question really threw me. If something throws you, it makes you feel uncertain, you don't know what to say. It's like somebody throwing a ball at you and you're not ready for it. So this question really threw me. So I'm saying I didn't really know what to say, as at first I'd absolutely no idea what to talk about, because I was thinking about houseplants. So I've got some fantastic grammar in there. We've got the past continuous. I was thinking about this. So really good complex start, and you could use that for other answers if it is appropriate. In here we've got lots of passives because plants are grown. So try to remember to use that structure. Plants are grown, rice is grown, tomatoes are grown. Talking about the staple foods, and that's why I picked the potato, to get some good language. If you're talking about rice, again, you can talk about the staple foods, and these are the most common foods that are eaten in your country. And because it's important, it could be considered the most notable plant. Instead of saying the most important plant, the most notable. It's similar to noteworthy. And like I keep saying in my videos, don't say it is grown in this specific area. I'm not entirely sure because it's a much more complex way of saying it. I don't really know. I'm not entirely sure if there is one specific area. So one area where they are actually grown. And because this topic, I'm not a potato expert, and you can use this for other topics that you're talking about. I'm not a music expert, I'm not a sport expert, so somebody who knows lots of things about this topic. So I'm going to assume, I'm going to pretend, I'm just going to say that they're grown everywhere. Remember, it's not a test of your intelligence, it's not a test of facts, it's a test of language. So when I'm driving around, so whatever plant you're talking about, you see them when you are driving around. And a good word to talk about plants that are grown, vegetables, they're crops. So this is a good word to use instead of plants. Remember to get lots of discourse markers in, but to be perfectly honest, much better than just saying to be honest. To be perfectly honest, it makes it a little bit stronger. And a good collocation here, to take notice of something. I don't take a lot of notice of them. It means I don't look at them, I don't think about them. And any plant that's grown, you're thinking about the end product, the final thing that you get after it's grown. And the end product of a potato plant is the potato. And it can be transformed into, this means it can be changed into, it can be made into a multitude of many tasty dishes. So we've got lots of complex language in here, despite it being a very tricky topic to talk about. So when a plant is planted, and it's planted under the ground, either a seed or a bulb, then often green shoots appear, and these are the first signs of a plant growing, and we call these the green shoots. Here we've got flower being used as a verb. The verb to flower describes a plant that has flowers that appear on it. So a potato plant grows from green shoots, it gets bigger, and then eventually a flower, a white flower, appears on it. The potatoes are under the ground, so we need a verb to describe taking them out of the ground, and we use the verb dig up. So it needs to be dug up. The potatoes are tiny, very, very small. Think about what the food that you're talking about, the plant that you're talking about, what it will be served with. Delicious when served with butter. Like I said before, you can use this a lot because you often find yourself repeating yourself in IELTS speaking because you haven't got enough to talk about, because it's a stupid topic. You don't talk about a plant for 2 minutes in real life. So you will find yourself repeating yourself. Like I said before, potatoes are one of the main staples. So we said it was a staple food, and you can also use the noun a staple. So one of the main staples. They can be made into a modal passive here, and think about what the product, what the plant you're talking about can be made into. And this is why I said use a plant that you eat, because you've got more things that you can talk about. We rely on them, we depend on them. And I cannot imagine a day passing, that's like a day turning into another day, a day going past, a day passing when I do not eat one. And they're a most important plant by far, and this is saying by a long way. So a very tricky topic, not one I was looking forward to writing and recording. I think I've managed to get quite a lot of vocabulary in there despite the difficulty of the topic. So really focus on a plant that's grown and that you eat, because you've got so much more to talk about. Think about your staple food that you have in your country. Thank you for watching.